Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really cool strategy that's all about reading the market's hidden language. It does this by bringing together two incredibly powerful ideas. First, understanding what's really driving the market moves using volume. And second, knowing when those moves are most likely to kick off. So let's start with a question that, let's be honest, probably keeps a lot of traders up at night. You're doing everything right. You're using the popular indicators, you're keeping up with the news, but it feels like the market just knows what you're doing and moves against you. Why on earth does that happen so often? Well, a big part of the problem is this common idea that the market is just a random walk. But that's not the whole story. The reality is it's not random at all. It's more like a complex game, and it's being played by some very skilled professionals who know the rules way better than most of us. And here's how that game is played. You've basically got two groups. On one side, you have the herd, that's most people, who react emotionally to headlines. But on the other side, you've got the professionals, the smart money. And here's the kicker, they don't just react to the news. A lot of the time, they're actually creating it to cause that panic or euphoria. This lets them buy low from the panicked sellers and sell high to the euphoric buyers. Okay, so if the pros are the ones pulling the strings, the big question is, how can we possibly see what they're up to? Well, that leads us right to our first key, a method called volume spread analysis, or VSA for short. And this right here is the absolute core idea of VSA. These big professional players can be super secretive, right? They can manipulate the news, but there's one thing they can't hide. Every time they place a huge order, it leaves a big, fat footprint where everyone can see it, in the trading volume. So, how does VSA actually spot this? It uses a really simple principle from physics, actually, and applies it to the market. It's called effort versus result. You're just comparing the amount of effort, that's the volume, to the result, which is how the price moves. This is how you start to see when the market is acting logically, and more importantly, when something fishy's going on. Think about it like this. Imagine you're driving a car. You press down hard on the gas pedal, that's high volume, and the car speeds up. Makes perfect sense, right? But what if you're flooring it? The engine is roaring, but the car is just stalling, barely moving. You know something is wrong. Well, in the market, that something that's blocking the car is often the professionals selling their positions into all that buying pressure. Now, when you spot these weird effort versus results moments, they tend to reveal two absolutely critical phases. The first is accumulation. This is when the pros are quietly buying up huge amounts from everyone who's panic selling after a drop. The second is distribution. That's when they're selling all those assets to the euphoric buyers after a big run-up. VSA is all about making these hidden phases totally visible on your chart. Okay, so VSA is a fantastic tool for understanding what the professionals are doing right now. But that's really only half of the equation, isn't it? The other critical piece is knowing when a big market turn is likely to happen. And this brings us to our second key, which comes from the legendary trader W.D. Gann. He had this mind-blowing idea that time and price aren't really separate things at all. He believed they were fundamentally connected, like two sides of the very same coin. Gann's main tool was this concept he called squaring the range. The idea is that a big move in price, that's your vertical axis on the chart, will often be balanced out by a proportional move in time, your horizontal axis. He believed that when these two forces, price and time, click into a perfect geometric balance, the market is totally primed for a major reversal. So while VSA is helping us analyze what's happening right now, Gann's work is all about giving us a forecast. It creates this kind of roadmap into the future, highlighting specific dates where a change in trend is just way more likely to happen. And this is where it all comes together. This is the really exciting part. By taking the analysis of what is happening and merging it with a forecast of when a turn is likely, we can build a unified strategy that is just so much more powerful. The strategy is actually pretty simple in its logic. First, you use VSA to figure out what the pros are doing. Let's say you see them accumulating at a market bottom. Next, you look at your Gann analysis for when a turn is predicted. And when you get a crystal clear VSA signal that lines up perfectly with a Gann turning point, bam, you have an incredibly powerful confirmation. And get this, the author reports that after a whole lot of testing, this unified approach hit a success rate between 70 and 75%. The goal is to just filter out all the noise and only take a shot when supply and demand, the what, and the time cycles, the when, are perfectly in sync. So really, the big takeaway here isn't about some magic indicator. It's about a complete shift in your perspective. It's about going from being a trader who just reacts to all the noise to becoming an analyst who can actually read the story the market is telling through price, volume, and time. At the end of the day, this whole framework gives you a new language to understand the markets. It suggests that underneath all the chaos, there's a real story unfolding, a story of professional accumulation and distribution happening within these predictable cycles of time. And the real question is, are you ready to learn how to read it?